Let me tell you a story that was never meant to be told. A story that begins not with a warrior carrying a rifle, but with a woman holding nothing more dangerous than a notebook and a pen. To the world she was just an interpreter, an extra body moving quietly behind the Navy SEALs as they carried out missions in hostile territory. She wasn't supposed to matter, she wasn't supposed to be remembered, and yet the secret she carried would turn an entire mission upside down, leaving every man who survived to whisper her name like a ghost. Her name was Lila. She had grown up in the dust of a country caught between two worlds, half of her life spent in whispered prayers under candlelight, the other half listening to the crackling voice of a radio that carried American songs across the airwaves. When the US military came, she didn't pick up a gun, she picked up words. She spoke English better than most of her teachers, and in war words were sometimes more powerful than bullets. The SEALs didn't notice her at first. They were trained to scan rooftops, windows, alleyways, not the quiet woman trailing behind them. She translated meetings with village elders, interrogations of prisoners, even the hushed arguments inside dimly lit rooms. She was useful, yes, but forgettable, exactly how she wanted it. Until that one mission. The orders were simple: extract a high-value target hiding in a village near the mountains. Intelligence suggested he was coordinating attacks against US convoys. The SEALs, as always, would go in under the cover of night. Layla was brought along only because she could translate the local dialect, subtle differences that even the best-trained linguists couldn't catch. To the team, she was an accessory, like the night vision goggles strapped to their helmets. But Layla knew something they didn't. As the convoy rolled into the silent village, her hands trembled in her lap. She wasn't afraid of the firefight that might erupt. She was afraid of the man they were after. Because she knew him in a way that would make her loyalty, her very soul, split in half. The team leader, Commander Hayes, gave her a sharp look as they crouched behind a crumbling wall. "Stay behind us, and when I need words, you speak. Nothing else." She nodded, but her eyes flickered toward the low house at the end of the street. Inside, under the cover of night, she could almost picture him, her brother. The SEALs didn't know, they couldn't know, and she couldn't tell them, not yet. Because if she did, this mission would never happen. And if it didn't happen, the chain reaction that was coming, the one only she understood, would burn the entire region to the ground. They moved fast, shadows slicing through the narrow streets, boots silent on the dirt, a door splintered under a shoulder, a cry, the sudden rush of chaos that came with breaking into another man's life. Layla translated the frightened voices, but her heart pounded louder than their words. The SEALs searched, weapons raised, clearing room after room. And then they found him. He wasn't holding a gun, he wasn't dressed like a fighter, he was just sitting there on a rug, his hands folded, as if he had been waiting for them all along. Commander Hayes barked for Layla to translate. "Ask his name." Her mouth went dry. The man's eyes met hers, and in that instant, she wasn't the interpreter anymore. She was the sister, and he was silently pleading with her, not in words but in memory of nights they had spent as children staring at the stars, of their mother's voice telling them to survive no matter the cost. Her lips moved. She gave them a name, but not his real one. The SEALs believed her. They always did. They cuffed him, blindfolded him, and dragged him out into the night. But the mission wasn't over. A second target was rumored to be hiding nearby, and intelligence had marked a warehouse at the edge of the village. Hayes ordered the team to move. Layla, at his side. Inside the warehouse, they found nothing at first, just crates, old tools, and the smell of rust, until one of the SEALs pried open a box and froze. It wasn't weapons, it was documents, maps, plans. And in the middle of it all, a single notebook written in careful English. Hayes picked it up, flipping through page after page, his face tightening with every line. "What the hell is this?" he muttered. "They knew our convoy routes, our supply lines, everything." He shoved it into Layla's hands. "Translate. Now." And that was when the secret spilled out. Because as her eyes scanned the pages, her world collapsed. These weren't enemy plans. They were her brother's notes. His careful handwriting, his coded marks. Not for ambushes, but warnings. He had been passing information to someone inside the US ranks, someone who wasn't supposed to exist. Her brother wasn't the enemy. He was the informant. And if the SEALs executed him, the fragile web of intelligence that had kept their men alive would unravel overnight. Her throat closed. What could she say? If she told the truth, the SEALs would realize she had lied about his identity. She would be branded a traitor, maybe shot on the spot. But if she kept silent, her brother's execution would doom countless others. The seconds ticked like thunder in her ears. Hayes's voice cut through the silence. Well, what's it say? And Lila made her choice. She told them a story, half truth, half invention. That the notes revealed a mole within the U.S. command. That her brother was only a courier. That killing him would erase their only link to the real traitor. The SEALs exchanged hard looks. Hayes's jaw worked as he weighed her words. Then slowly, he nodded. Fine. We take him back alive. The mission changed in that moment. The extraction wasn't about eliminating a target anymore. It was about protecting the one man who might expose the rot within their own command. But there was a cost. The longer they stayed, the more the village awoke. Lights flickered on. Dogs barked. Shadows moved on rooftops. Gunfire cracked the night. And suddenly the SEALs were fighting their way out with Lila pressed between them, her brother stumbling in cuffs. When they finally reached the exfil point, breathless and bloodied, the helicopter's roar swallowed the chaos. Hayes shoved Layla inside first, then dragged her brother up after. The bird lifted, dust exploding beneath them as tracer rounds chased their escape. Only when the mountains swallowed the village did Hayes turn to her again. His eyes burned with suspicion. You ever going to tell me why he looked at you like that? Like he knew you? Layla held his gaze, her voice steady though her heart shook. Because secrets recognize each other. He stared at her for a long time, then looked away. Back at base, the truth of her brother's role began to surface, piece by piece, documents decrypted. Informants confirmed. The SEALs had stumbled not onto an enemy stronghold, but into the middle of a shadow war. And none of it would have been possible without her choice that night. She was just the interpreter, forgettable, invisible, until the secret she carried changed everything. And though the SEALs never spoke of her again, not in reports, not in briefings, those who were there would remember that sometimes the mission doesn't turn on the man with the gun, it turns on the woman with the words.